wait for this stream to come up, see if it's streaming. Alright, we're good. That's probably going to echo a little bit. Alright, so I'm filming a special thing of my mapping VODs today. This isn't just going to be, well, it is going to be just miscellaneous me mapping, but I'm not completely pulling this one out of my ass. What I'm doing here is I have this new building, this new gate building, and I don't know if anyone's watched the older VODs or if to anyone who's already tested and seen my map. There was an older gate building here. I didn't like it. It looked ugly. I got rid of it. So that's basically that. But I replaced it with a new one, and I put a second floor on top of it, mostly for performance reasons. Because, you know, if it was just one floor high, then I'd have to put the hint brush here, and anyone who got over only 128 units would start rendering everything on the other side. But long story short, 2 floors was better. But I had nothing to put on the second floor, so I just had this one floor down here. But what I decided to do was I was going to turn this into a bit of a video tutorial of sorts on how to make a building, to make a building with an exterior and an interior without like going off the grid or doing stuff, you know, weird and out of shape. Like you know, like you see these major, I don't know if you can actually see them in the stream, but there are major grid lines. They're 64 by 64, and it's usually good to build large buildings like this on those grid lines, or base your floor plans around that. It makes it much more simple. But as you can see, in cases of like the basketball here, I've got a 16 unit thick wall. So while the basketball court is exactly 768 units by 1280, nice, you know, sizes that can be divided up into 64s, you've got a little like hallway, or well, not really a hallway, but a passageway here that's only 112 units wide, which it just, like, if I were to put a hallway here, that would make things weird, because obviously it wouldn't be as wide as I would want to make the hallway, because there's this wall impeding on it. So I didn't really plan that out. That's just kind of half-assed, but it's not a big deal because this is outside and it's not a hallway. It doesn't have to be restricted to a certain size. But regardless, I'm going to show you how to build a room within a building. And this building is like a perfect, you know, it's 320 units this way, 512 units this way. It's a pretty perfectly sized building as far as, you know, staying on the grid goes. And I'm going to show how to build an interior of such a building without screwing that up, or without changing the walls, and while still looking good, you know, on the top-down view and on the other views. And obviously I'm going to do this all on grid size 8 because that's the size I map on. You should be mapping on some grid size around there. If you're not, that's just really that's just poor organization, and it's going to bite you in the ass. So I'm going to change these windows. Actually, I'm going to move them up a unit higher because that puts them on the same level as the top of this wall here, I think. No, I'd have to move them up 2 units higher. Well, I might have to put no windows on the other side of this building because, again, I want, and I might even make, I'm probably going to make this wall taller, because the way I have this map set up right now is anyone who's standing on this side of the wall, underneath the top of the wall, isn't rendering anything on this side, which is really helpful because I have a lot of props and stuff over here. It's really good for improving game performance. But if I put windows up here, that completely screws that up, and the height at which they need to be standing to not render the other side becomes lower. So that would screw that up, and so I probably won't add windows to the other side, or I'll have them boarded up to simulate the fact that, you know, they didn't want prisoners breaking through them, so they didn't put windows on the other side or something like that. I'll come up with something, but yeah. So for now, I'm actually just going to remove these and fill them in with wall. Oh, you know what? Before I do anything, I'm going to use the cordon tool. Now, if you're not familiar with this, it's really helpful if you have a big, complicated map like this. Like, you can see my side views right now are they're just full of shit, and so it's really hard to see what you're doing in the side views. So what you do is you click this little guy up here, Edit Cordon Bounds. It's that little yellow and black dashed box, not the one with the star on it. It's just the one in the middle here. And you would click and create an area like this, similar to making a brush. And you would cordon off an area like this, and then you click the big yellow and black box, and it turns the cordon on. And there, it only renders things within the cordon box. That really comes in handy when, like I said, your map gets really big and complicated like this one has. So I'm gonna just tighten the cordon up a little bit. That's actually pretty good there. And I'm gonna cordon off this truck. I might have to, if I accidentally move something out of the cordon, it's going to stop rendering, so I might have to open the cordon up again. What did I just do? Okay, I think I'm good. Alright, let me actually, no, stop it. Will you stop? I have like multiple cordons. I think I fucked something up. Oh, great. What did I do? That's really dumb. You can accidentally click the other... Okay, well, I don't know how I'm going to get rid of what's going on. I think Hammer just crashed. This is starting out well. Okay, here we go. We're back. Alright, I'm going to get to fucking mapping this before Hammer crashes or does something stupid. I really hate Hammer sometimes. It pulls some really dumb bullshit. Like it did right there. So we're going to turn these back into just regular walls. And what you'll notice I'm doing on the corners of the walls here is I'm beveling them with the vertex editor. So as you can see, it's at an angle and the two faces come to meet perfectly. And what that does is it makes sure that the ends of the wall here will be they'll be culled when the BSP compiles, which means they'll be removed, and it won't cut up this strangely. So you know, you want to do all your walls like this. It takes longer, but it's neater and it's just better. So you're going to see me doing that a lot. So if you don't know what that is, you'll probably find out by the end of this video. So like I'm going to set these walls up here for that kind of beveling. Actually, I forgot I need to remove this window too. And then I will move, whoops, where am I here? Move this guy. And this is the great thing about the way I'm doing it is I'm mapping on grid size 8 and I'm using 16 unit thick walls. So that way I can, when I'm vertex editing, I can just pull the whole face without moving it off the grid, and then I can bevel the walls very easily. So that comes in handy. I actually don't need to bevel this one because all of these faces are going to be culled anyway, because this is going to be sandwiched between two walls. I'll show you later, but this one does not need to be beveled, and I don't know why I'm no drawing that. That doesn't need to be no drawn either. I do a lot of just stupid time wasting stuff for no reason. So, like, you know, no drawing walls that are going to be culled anyway. You don't need to do that, but I do it anyway because I'm strange. So I'm starting off with no draw because I'm not sure what texture I want to make these yet. Alright, now I'm going to be doing something here where, notice the walls only go in this far, and the reason for that is I'm going to make an indent, actually, especially for this window. And this is how I'm going to make windows without making them super thick. Is I'm just going to put indents in the wall to reach the window. And I want to make a wall here. like that. And then I'm going to make one all the way out here. It's kind of copying the pattern of the floor below me. I'm doing something similar, so extend this out here. There's no doorway, so obviously it's not going to have an indent like it does on the floor below me. I want this actually to go here. And yeah, the beveling, you don't have to worry about faces that are going to get culled. So like, you know, these corners obviously aren't going to get culled. So if I were to do it like this, like most people would, the problem with that is now you've got a face here, you've got a face here, and you've got a face here. So there's a chance it'll cut on this line between these two faces, which, you know, when you do that over and over and over again, it just it will stack up on your compile time. So it's best to just cull or bevel those faces. But over here, like, all this is going to be culled anyway, so it doesn't matter. So you don't need to do that over there. Now with the ceiling, I'm going to have to do something a little bit weird because, whoops, I have a 16 unit layer you see here between the two floors. So, and I can't just make it the same block because I have indented lights here. And if I delete this out, you'll notice I have to make a hole in the ceiling for these lights. They're office style indented lights. I have them in an instance, which is why they're all greenish like that. But it's a really cool looking lighting scheme, and like I said, I pulled it directly from CS Office, so you can have a look at CS Office on how to do this kind of light. You just basically cut a hole in the ceiling. That's 128, or no, it's 64 by 32 by 8 units high, and you stick a prop in there, and there's a brush with the glass texture, and then you put lights underneath it. And I've got sprites underneath this one, but it's really cool. But the problem is, you have, like I said, you have to cut a hole in the ceiling. So I'm going to have to make sure there's going to have to be a separate ceiling block because of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lower all of the ceiling blocks that are 16 units high right now, like so. I hope I didn't grab a ceiling that is the wrong height there. Okay, so I got that taken care of. Now, you notice what I've done here is I have, what the fuck's going on here? It's getting a little confusing because this is all no-drawed, but and it doesn't have to be. This is what I'm talking about. No drawing faces. I don't have to no draw, and it's actually coming to bite me in the ass. But you notice. Let me just throw a texture on this so it's a little less confusing. So here's the ceiling brushes, and then I have a no draw block on top to seal off this light. And normally these would be 16 units high, so they would go like this, and everything would be nice and flush. But now I need to make a floor, and I don't want to make a floor with a bunch of little pieces like this, because these would all be at floor level. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete them all, and I'm going to turn these all into one big floor block, and this floor block is going to seal off all these lights. So this, I should have actually said this before, this part of the tutorial isn't really going to be relevant unless you're doing this lighting this way, so you could probably just ignore all that if you're just doing regular lights just sticking out of the ceiling, which I would suggest if you're newer to mapping. It's much, much easier. And I'm just going to throw a carpet texture on this. So we got our lights nice and sealed off, but it's not two big blocks, so it's not going to cut up this strangely. This is going to be it's going to be an awfully small room, but it's, I don't know what I'm going to put in it, but I'm just, like I said, I'm making it for the sake of, you know, having a tutorial. Now over here I've got a weird situation because this tile is the ceiling, right? But you know what? I'm actually I don't need to do anything weird here because I forgot I added this little landing. So that's all hidden. So this is going to be fine. I can just make this one big block, ceiling and floor. Doesn't matter because this is all going to be hidden. Is this function detailed? I can't remember. Okay, so then I want to node draw this face because people will not be able to see it. And this is all function detailed, so it's not going to be culled. So that's node drawn now, and I can make that carpet. And we see our floor is already starting to shape up a bit here. This is, what am I going to do with this? Okay, so this is going to be a little weird because I have the trim out here for, you know, this area of the wall. So what I could do is I could make, I'll just delete this out for, just to show you. I could make, instead of having all this here like I do right now, which I've got this triangular block here, and then I have this block which is wedged in the front, so they fit together perfectly. The face is called whatever. That works well for one floor, but there's two floors, so that's a problem now. So what I could do is I could make two blocks like this. I'm stupid. Never mind. I'm thinking about this the whole wrong way. I can just make one block. And, you know, I can just cut this out of here. It doesn't matter. This is a little bit sloppy because we have this hanging over here, but it's not a huge deal. So I'm just going to put that there, texture that up, and then put our carpet texture there. And I forgot to make an indent for this window because, as I previously stated, I am fucking retarded. So let's do that. Okay, this one's going to go right to the wall again, so that's fine. I don't care. Obviously, it's nice to be as neat as possible, but you can't fret over too much stuff. You know, it's just, some stuff's just not going to fit together perfectly. That's just the nature of it all. And then I'm going to make a block here to fill in this last bit of floor. I can actually make that 16 unit high. Not terribly important that I do, but I don't want to. I want it to be a little less cluttered in my side views, so I'll make that. Okay, and now got all that set up. I'm not going to do anything fancy with the texturing right now. I might do that later, just for the sake of keeping the tutorial simple. So I'm just going to stick this plaster texture on, which is, plaster textures are good for like homes, offices, you know, residential-ish, you know, areas, more comfortable, casual areas. So that's what you want to usually go for, like plaster walls for that. Or I don't know if they have drywall textures in CS:GO, so I'd have to check that sometime. But what's it called? The plaster textures will get you by just fine. So now this is something I didn't think about, because out here I've got some function details to work as the window rims, but in here you can see the other side, and maybe I'll just keep that to make it look like there's like a sill between the windows. Yeah, I might just keep that. Maybe let's have a look at it. First of all, let's texture the back side of these to get an idea of what it would look like. Because, you know, you get these double panes of glass or double silled windows, or double, you know, doubled up windows, so it might just look okay. So let's have a look. Balls, what am I doing here? Yeah, that does look a little weird. Alright, so what I'm going to do is, instead of having I could either make these real thick or real thin. I think I'm going to, well, I'll try, and this is another thing, like, if you don't know what'll look good, just screw around. Even if you don't think it'll look good, just try it out anyway, you never know. So I could make these real thick like this, but that looks really cheesy, so I'm going to make them 8 units thick instead. And what I'll do is I'll make this window thinner, because glass usually isn't very thick anyway, it doesn't really matter. Alright, and now that looks good, so I can texture this face up. Maybe I should use the same texture. Let's see. Does that look okay? Yeah, that looks okay for now. I'll just go with that for now. So these are already all function detailed, and I'm going to make this. You could probably just make this a function detail, but I always like to make it a function brush and disable the shadows just for good measure. Again, you probably don't have to do that, but I'm just paranoid and I do it anyway. So, yeah. Great tutorial showing how I do all this stupid shit that you don't need to do. But I guess in that way, people will learn not to do it. Hammer's locking up again. If it crashes and I lose a bunch of my work, I'm going to go apeshit. Okay, there we go. I don't know what Hammer's deal is today. I think it's just because I'm streaming while I'm doing this, so it's using up resources. And Hammer is not well optimized, so it doesn't like that at all. So that's going to be 8 units thick, and that's going to be there, and that's going to be there. And I need to texture this. Boop, boop, boop. And I'm going to texture this. I could probably have just... I'm not doing it right, am I? Son of a bitch. I'm gonna have to go back and check that last one. I didn't even check it. I don't think I textured it right. I'm gonna have to copy and paste all those windowsills again. Here I am trying to look cool, doing everything fast on the stream, and I just cost myself a good bit of time. Yay me. Let's texture those up, and let's see if I fucked up over here. Yes, I did. I didn't even check. So good. I think the way these are textured, it'll look pretty good in game, because I have the dark side of that rim going towards the dark side on here, so it mixes up pretty good, I think. We'll see. Usually, that's another thing. A lot of stuff will look really bad in Hammer, and then once you put it in game and it's got all the lighting and shadows and everything set up, it'll look a lot better. So if something doesn't look great in Hammer, don't lose sleep over it. It'll probably look better in game. So, alright, so I am going to be lazy about making my roof, and why is that not... Oh wait, oh, I have the grid size up. Alright, that's a problem. It is 8 units thick, so I'm just going to copy and paste this and retexture it. So I'm going to put the ceiling texture on, and then I am going to fill in these indents again. I don't need to make that overlap there, do I? Yeah, I'm not gonna, because I'm gonna put some trim there. So I will sort that out in a bit. Okay, okay. So we've got some more ceiling pieces there. Here I am, no drawing faces. I don't need to again. Why is that? Oh, that's because yeah, this is 8 units thick. Yeah, that's not sealed off because this is 8 units thick instead of 16, but it'll need to be this wide, and I'll show you why in a minute. What was I gonna do? Oh yeah, I was gonna put in some ceiling lights because I harped on that for so long that I might as well show everyone how I do the ceiling lights. And this is something, it's obviously not my idea. I got it straight out of CS Office. So like I said, you can open up CS Office and have a look there if you are unsure of anything, or if you want to see how they do it. How they do it is slightly different from the way I do it, but my way is better because it's mine, you know. Am I doing this right? Yeah. And I've found that leaving 128 unit thick between each light is a good distance. So I've been sticking with that, and I'm going to continue doing that. Now I was actually thinking of adding a bathroom over here, and like, you know, maybe sticking some goodies in there like a gun or something. So I'm not going to do that part yet, and what I'm actually going to do, since this is kind of, nah, I won't. Yeah, I'm going to have all these lights lined up the same way, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend this part of the ceiling out so that it's just all one big column cut out here, because you see you notice it's getting cut into columns because I'm cutting the ceiling up for lights. So I'm going to put one more light here, and that's actually perfect because that leaves 96 units to the wall here and 96 units to the wall here. So that's perfect distancing. They're all perfectly spread out. That's great. That's actually really great. And I'm going to no draw all these. You might not have to, depending on the way you do it. I actually don't have to because I switched to a regular brush in these. I'll show you the actual instance. So let's just show you how to set it up. So I'll open up the instance here, and you can ignore this skip thing. That's just something I put there. But what I have is basically a 32 by 64 by 8 unit brush. It's just all no drawed except for this side, which has this glass texture, and the thumbnail's not showing up because this is a glitch with Hammer and it's fucking shitty. But if you just look up glass, it's the off light covers, and they have one for when it's off, which is a little brighter. It looks better where they have a version of a skin of this model when it's off. And yeah, you basically make this brush and then you make this model, and you line everything up. You put this on top of that. It should fit perfectly over it like that. And then what I do is I put a spotlight underneath it for most of the light. 400 brightness, inner angle of 50, outer angle of 90, and then I just have a small light with 10 brightness, same color, just to light up the ceiling around it a little bit, because the spotlight gives you good light everywhere except the ceiling. So you want to have this just to light up the ceiling a little bit and give it a better atmosphere, whatever. And then I've got sprites underneath it, which they're just icing on the cake. If you're new to mapping and you're still figuring everything out, don't worry about them. They'll just make things more complicated. So I'm just going to copy and paste these instances of that ceiling light. Bang, 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 bang. And before I do anything else, I'm going to throw a roof on this. I'm still not entirely sure how I'm going to do the roof, so I'm going to be kind of winging this. But I did want to have a slanted roof, you know, one that with shingles on top that it looks like the rain would wash off of. So I'm going to add this trim piece here, and then, because this sticks out here, I'm going to cut it to fit the doorway. I'm going to take the cut piece and make it a triangle like this. And then you notice here's my ceiling piece for over the doorway. I'm going to slot that in wedge shape so it fits nicely with the trim piece. I don't think I needed to do that. No, I didn't. I am fucking retarded. Jesus Christ. Yeah, because I did that because I was going to do the trim up here differently before, and I confused myself. So, disregard that. I will just make it part of this piece, which isn't a big deal. The fact that the trim is cut here anyway doesn't matter because this is a function detail, so it would, the world would be cut along this line anyway, so it doesn't matter if that is separate from these two parts too much. I'm going to finish this trim. This is why I shouldn't do tutorials on the fly like this. I haven't, if it isn't completely obvious already, I haven't planned this at all, so I'm kind of bullshitting. And again, I'm having no windows on this side, just for performance purposes. But I could very easily make windows on this side, the same way I made windows on the other side of the building. Let's finish that off there. Now, like I said, I was going to do a slanted roof, just because I think it looks nicer, and it looks a little more realistic. I could do a flat roof on this, but there are a couple problems with that. With the way I've made the ceiling, and again, the indented lights are going to cause a problem here. The reason they don't cause any problems in CS Office is because it's only one floor high, and there's no roof above this ceiling. They're ceilings that you walk on, so they never have to deal with this problem. But because of the way I do the lights, it has to be, I would have to cut this up into two pieces, you know, one to seal off the top of the lights, and then one for, that's all cut up to fit the lights for the ceiling on the floor below it. So if I wanted to make a flat roof, I could very well do that, but I would only make it extend out to these trim pieces here. That way the cut along this line in the middle of the trim piece, which would be, you know, here, they would have one, there would be like the ceiling here, and the ceiling of the floor below here, and the roof would be here, and it would cut this along this line, which would just be stupid, so maybe having the trim up would help it, but then you'd have to trim, and it would cut along the line where might cut along the line where the trim and the ceiling meet. So, I mean, and that might not even fix it. And that's another thing. This is fucking weird. I know there are certain rules under which it should, you know, behave, but sometimes it just makes no fucking sense whatsoever. So, you know, I say all this, and it could be fine anyway. But regardless, I'm going to do the slanted roof because that eliminates my problem there. And I'm going to just make a really rough block, and I'm going to move this cordon up because I don't know if it would cut off the top of my ceiling there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have like an A-frame roof, you know, standard A-frame roof. It's going to be centered over the center of this floor. So right in the middle of this block. Would that be the middle? No, I want it right in the middle of like these walls here. So right down the middle of this 64 block right here. You probably can't see it in the stream, the major grid lines, but here's our major grid line, our 64 block. Our roof is gonna run from either side like so. So but this is longer, so it's going to be sticking up a little more. It's going to have a flat surface on this side, or I can make it run off the side, but it would look kind of weird. But let's just see exactly what I'm dealing with here. So I'm going to make a little flat area on top, and if I recall correctly, all the other roughs had a 1 rise over 2 run, so I can't remember what angle this is, but it cuts nice and cleanly. You can see. It's actually going to be a kind of a weird height because, you know, because of the way I'm doing this, but, you know, no big deal. And I'm going to do the other side, and at that same angle, that's going to leave a lot of space there. Okay, you know what? Plan B. I'm going to do that. I'm just going to line it up on the center here, and this area is just going to be flat ceiling, flat roof. So it's not optimal. I wanted to do the all slanted roof because it looked nicer and it was a lot easier because I wouldn't have to sort out that problems with mixing the ceiling and the roof together, but you know, it didn't look good in my opinion, so I don't think it would have looked good once I compiled it either, so I'm just going to stick with this and I'll work that out in a minute. And Hammer is locking up again. I really should be saving it over and over. That's another thing with Hammer. Save it over and over and over again because it's unreliable, and even this newest version designed for CSGO, I've had it crash for no reason. At least half a dozen times over the course of working on this map. Thankfully, it's pretty good about getting the autosaves out on time, so you don't lose anything, or you don't lose a lot. But, you know, it's still annoying, and I still hate it for that. And I'm stalling you because I hit save and it's taking forever. Okay, there we go. Alright, so which roof tiles have I been using? Is this? No, that's the trim. So let me just leave the cordon for a minute. Oh, it's not labeled roof, it's labeled shingles. Yeah, there are a lot of good shingle textures that came with CSGO. Like there's this black one, and then there's this gray one. Really good for making like houses and the like. And I need to rotate this the other way so that it's lined up. Is that right? I think so, yeah. And then I'll just stick that over there. And then this is the texture I'm using for slanted roofs between the two roof surfaces. And then I could actually make this all one block. What the fuck am I doing? Oh, hold on a minute. Let me put the cordon back up so you can see what the fuck I'm doing. Yeah, I made this a bunch of separate blocks. I could actually make it all one block. Probably doesn't matter too much. Again, it might cut up this more, but how the hell am I supposed to know with what this wants to do? It's a strange thing, this. So, it's a real pain in the ass to deal with, too. I want that world aligned. Is that right? I think so. Oh, hell's bells. What is it doing? It's kind of hard to tell if this texture is upside down. It's you know, it plays those perspective games with you. But you'd notice it in game because it has like bump maps and shit. So I think that's right. Yeah, that's right. And then I will just stick that that there. Stick the texture I've been using for the sides on the sides. And I have been trimming this off on the sides of that, but I'll skip that and go right to this part of the roof, which should be a bit interesting. Okay, so I haven't added indented. This will actually be pretty easy because I haven't added the indented lights here. And this is another thing when you do mapping design is like I haven't added the indented lights here, and I won't add them for the bathrooms or for whatever will go here because I have a flat roof here. So that's another thing about designing your map optimally is sometimes you have to give and take like that, and you have to make, you know, stupid little compromises because the engine is a bitch. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make another ceiling thing here. Now I know this is possibly gonna cut it up a bit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one big piece here, and then I'm going to cut off all the pieces of trim beyond this point. And if you can't tell, that's the point right here where the slanted roof meets the flat roof. And then I'm going to extend this out to fill in the areas that the trim pieces had. I'm going to texture it up. I need to grab the ceiling texture, or the rough texture I've been using. There we go. And now that's all one piece. It's all one piece down here. Well, except for that. Could I extend it into there? I could, actually. Yeah, if it really bothers you having another extra piece here, I can always extend this. No, I can't, because it fits the trim here, so I can't do that. So yeah, they're gonna have an extra piece here. It's not a big fucking deal, it doesn't matter. So yeah, you know, not perfect, but everything fits nicely, and now I've got this nice new room to work with, while still fitting the grid outside. And just cordon this off again. As you can see, if I turn off models here and stuff, there's a bit of a jumble because I have stuff on the floor below it, obviously. But if I cordon off just this top floor, so let me get rid of these fucking cordons if I can. Can I? How do you get rid of these fucking things? Oh, hell's bells. Yeah, cordons can be a bit weird sometimes. Let me make that cordon again. Okay. Fucked up, but we are back now. I'm so good at doing tutorials. I mean, you know, just on top of my shit. But yeah, alright, we got the area cordoned off now, and I'm going to cordon off this top floor. So, if you're just looking at the top floor, this is what it looks like. And you'll notice, despite that I've got a lot going on in there already, I've got ceiling lights, I've got the whole floor set up, I've got windows, you know, doors and everything. It's pretty neat. You can see what you're doing here, and everything's nicely on the grid, so it's not going to fuck with Hammer or fuck with the compiler too much. And it's going to be very easy to position things because a lot of props and, you know, brush textures and everything are designed to work on this grid. So having everything on the grid is really nice. And the reason I did it like this with only indents for the windows and the door is because, like, here's one reason. You see this ceiling tile texture is 32 unit blocks here. And if I were to just make this extend right to the outside walls, you would get these, like, cut-off blocks. You know, it would get cut off halfway through there the whole way. And that, I think, would look pretty bad. It's still doing it here, but, you know, there's not much you can do about that, and it doesn't really look that bad if it's in, you know, something in moderation. But if it's, you know, the entire building looks like that, the entire interior looks like that, it just looks shabby. It looks a lot nicer if you can make them meet the walls like this, you know, right where the tiles end. And, you know, it's just little things like that. Textures, models, you know, everything's built on this whole grid system. So if you can build an interior and an exterior that fits the grid system, it just helps you. It just does. So I'm gonna conclude this tutorial. I'm gonna go fill this room with shit right now, but you know, you really don't need a tutorial for that. Anybody knows how to fill a room with shit. So, and I'm gonna see if I can upload this to my YouTube. And I'll there might be a few more VODs of me doing this map, but its design, I think, for the most part, is finished. I need to get back to the EMD staff members. I don't know if they want more from this map, but as far as adding things, I think I'm for the most part done. So there might be one more VOD that I upload to my YouTube, but I don't think there's a whole lot left for me to make. So, but after that, I do plan on making another map, maybe remaking Dark Cells for CSGO, or making a version of Electric that isn't complete ass to look at. So, you know, there's always that. But this is already going on long enough, so I'm going to cut this off here and see if I can upload this to my YouTube.